everybody, this is Pam Sterling, and I am here with Krita Cain. And Krita took the Outrageous Joy 30-Day Raw Food Adventure about a year ago now, right, Krita?
Yeah, almost 1 year.
Yeah. And Krita offered to share her story a little bit about what it was like for her to go raw during those 30 days, what her experience was like. And I think what's interesting about Krita's story is that it's not like you came in with like huge health issues. I mean, you're an athlete. You're very healthy, a runner. So someone who you're conscious about the environment and the kinds of things you put into your body and have in your home and all of that. So tell us a little bit about why you were interested in taking the 30-day raw food adventure and going on that and trying raw, and then what your experience was.
Well, I'd always heard about raw food. I had a friend who is almost 100% raw during the summer and then goes to 50 to 75% during winter. And so I'd heard a lot about it, and I'd been really curious about it. And so I decided, once I saw your class, I decided to just jump. I could do anything for 30 days, but it was just the perfect amount of commitment for me to try it out. And I also knew that my husband and I were thinking about having a baby, and I wanted to try it before I lost all control of like what my body was doing. And so while I was still the only one in charge of me, I wanted to give that a shot. And so that's what got me into it. The 30 days was the perfect amount of time. It wasn't a huge financial commitment, and it turned out to be a lot more than just an eating change for me, which, there were a lot of things that came with it that I expected, and a lot of things that were really just great surprises.
So let's check out each of those areas. So let's just talk about health. What did you experience in terms of your health?
Well, I lost a bunch of weight. That was the first thing. Yeah, I did.
Because it wasn't like you were overweight.
No, I wasn't trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
I just leaned out and lost, I think it was from getting off of the caffeine. That was a huge thing.
Yeah, because I remember you decided to take the plunge and go off caffeine. And tell us a little bit about that experience and what that
I just said to myself, okay, I've given myself 30 days. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it 100%. And so I quit coffee that next morning, and that was a really, really rough day. And it was a few days coming off of the caffeine until I felt okay without the caffeine. And then it took me about 2 weeks, I think, really, to work it completely out of my system using the raw foods.
And what did you experience after that?
Amazing. It was so different than the energy that I would have on caffeine. And you had talked about that. Other people in the class had talked about that, and so I knew to expect it. I just didn't know when. And I think it was like 10 to 14 days after giving up the caffeine that my energy levels just naturally started to come back up, and I started to realize which foods worked best with my body, and then it kind of all came into harmony about halfway through the class for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's really good.
And then so you came off caffeine, you started experiencing that real energy peak that is sort of the reputation, that raw foods has, is that you just experience extraordinary amounts of energy.
Yeah.
And then you experienced some other health changes as well for yourself.
I did, and some of them are more socially appropriate to talk about than others, but I'm going to talk about them all.
Because I'm Krita Cain, and that's the way I am.
Well, and because they made a big difference for me. One thing that I noticed is, like, I always had problems, like, my feet get a little stinky sometimes. Whatever, it's true. But when I got on the raw food, it stopped, and I had gone 100%.
Wow.
And that was the thing. When I said I was going to jump in, I really did jump in. I thought I would go like 85%, but I found that it was harder for me to balance eating raw and non-raw, and am I cooking today or am I not?
Yeah.
It was just a lot easier and also more affordable for me to just eat the raw food, because I would prepare it ahead of time, and so I'd have several meals planned ahead. And if I didn't eat that meal, it could potentially go to waste. And so that was another thing. So my feet, happy feet. And also, ever since I started my period when I was a kid, that always been accompanied by really tremendous menstrual cramps and a lot of pain. And that month I had no pain. Wow. It was incredible. And I usually have to take at least 800 milligrams of ibuprofen at the beginning, like prior to the onset of my period, in order to just hold the pain at bay. And doing the raw food allowed me to just be able to live my days and not worry about it, and that was a huge health benefit. And oh, go ahead.
I was going to say something that a lot of women experience, you know, and just feel like the only way really to get through it is with ibuprofen or Motrin or something.
Yeah, and heavy doses for me,
Yeah.
and usually accompanied by a nap. It was just, yeah, but I realized, wow, this is doing amazing things for my body that I'm not even aware of.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, you know, my digestive system and my reproductive system could be interacting on such a very serious, obvious, quick way, because it had only been a couple of weeks since I had changed my diet, and yet my body was, you know, getting all the benefit from it.
Now, and how many pounds did you lose?
I think I ended up losing 7 or 8 pounds. You know, I didn't, and I wasn't looking to
like
weight.
right.
I wasn't in it to lose weight.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about other health benefits or other benefits that you experienced as well. So, what were some of the other sort of changes in your life that you noticed?
Yeah. So yeah, I cleared out my storage. I had a garage sale in May, and that came into play with relationships, letting go of old resentments. It just came naturally to me. And
So one of the things that you're pointing to is a lot of people experience when they start clearing out their bodies and clearing toxins out of their bodies, that it just naturally overflows. And so you're saying it happened even before we talked about it, that it naturally overflows into your environment and your relationships and your finances, that you just begin to want to sort of detox those areas as well, and you were just sort of naturally experiencing those things.
And I'd held on to some of that stuff for 15 years, and I hadn't been able to let it go. And lightening up was so easy, and it was so holistic for me that I never felt, it wasn't like I was pressuring myself or pushing myself to do anything that I wasn't comfortable with. It's exactly where I was at the time, and it was very easy to let go.
Yeah, wow. Now, you have something new in your life. You're is it 6 months pregnant at this point? 7? 8 months
and
pregnant.
Change.
Yeah. So 8 and change.
8
so
and change.
You're doing really 30 days or so, right?
I'm doing in 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks.
Yeah, they don't tell you pregnancy is not 9 months. It's the end of 9 months. It's really 10 months.
Oh, so there you go. Learned something new. So you since have gotten pregnant, and you've been going through your pregnancy, and so tell us a little bit about your experience with food, raw food. I know that you've had some things that have been challenging and all of that, but...
Well, right at the beginning of the pregnancy, I have a history of kidney stones. And at the beginning of the pregnancy, I had some kidney stones, and my doctors said, you're going to have to stop eating red meat. I was like, okay, no problem. Because I'd been doing the raw thing, and I kept doing it after the class.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't... I was still doing the raw food.
Yeah.
So raw vegan diet, and they're telling me to cut out red meat because it puts me at risk for kidney stones. And I said I was a vegetarian, and they said, well then dairy, and I said okay, vegan. And they didn't know at the time. It turns out I have a genetic predisposition, but my doctors, knowing so little about kidney stones, said, okay, what are you eating? And they wanted to put it on me, the responsibility for it, because people's diets are typically linked to it. So, and it was kind of the start of me moving away from raw and moving towards the medical system, which later in the pregnancy I moved away from the medical system and back towards holistic health. And that's where I'm at in my pregnancy now.
And so now I know that you're at least upping the raw again and wanting to finish out these last 6 weeks or so as raw as you can be.
Yeah.
I know that so can you talk a little bit about that? What's been your experience with that?
Well, every pregnancy guide, the number one thing you can do to have a healthy baby and to have a positive birth experience is good nutrition. And it doesn't matter what book you're reading, they all start with nutrition. And that was something that I had neglected because I didn't know how to eat healthfully without the tools that I had gained. Really, like it's just, So I've gone back to that. And, with 6 weeks until the due date, I'm doing more and more raw, lots of salads, green smoothies, things that are easier to do. I'm not becoming super experimentative. How do you say that? I'm not experimenting a whole lot with different recipes right now. I'm going with the things that I know are tried and true for me. And then doing other things that are also healthier. So trying to stay vegan for the most part and do as much raw as I can. And it's helping. And like, I haven't gained any weight in the last 4 weeks, which is great because I put on plenty. I was fine in terms of weight gain. I didn't need to gain any more for the baby to be healthy. And I take, multivitamin and stuff too, just to make sure that I'm doing okay. But I was doing that before as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really want to be able to have a very positive birth experience. And I know from my experience that raw food benefits my body, that it responds very well to it. And so yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Awesome. So, so some folks watching this video are going to be thinking about, should I do the raw food adventure or not? I don't know. And so what would you want them to know?
It's not as hard as it looks. And if you try it, I would say, if you can do it for 30 days, you're going to give yourself a gift of at least knowing one more thing about yourself. Maybe it's going to become a lifestyle change for you, like I've wanted it to be, and I'm making it for myself. And maybe it's just going to be something fun that you do for 30 days, and then you know that about yourself. Either way, I think it's been a great experience for me. And I think that we can all use something to shake up our norm that helps us kind of look at our routines in a different way and decide if those old routines are ones that we want to keep around, and then bring them back if they are. You're not giving up your whole year, and you're not committing to doing anything, and it's on the honor system.
Yeah.
You can do as much or as little as you want. There's nobody checking to make sure. But I've found it just hugely beneficial in so many areas of my life that anybody thinking of doing it, you have the potential to learn something new about yourself, and that I think is always worth the investment.